Hello, I'm Brian Zahnd, and I want to tell you a story of how the book, What to Do on the Worst Day of Your Life, came about. It goes all the way back to 1993, when my secretary said to me one day, "You know, a lot of people are going through a hard time in the church." A short while later, I was thinking, and I remembered the story of when David returned to Ziklag, and in his absence, the Amalekites had burned the village to the ground, stolen all of their flocks and herds and gold and silver, and kidnapped their families. I thought, you come home from work, and your house is burned to the ground. You find out you've gone bankrupt, and your family has been kidnapped by terrorists all in one day. That has to be the worst day of your life. And I thought, well, I can preach a little bit on that, and I can tell the story of what David did and how David found a way to recover and recover. Also, I preached a sermon on it. That's what I do. But this sermon just sort of took on a life of its own, and people began to, duplicate the recording, and it began to go around, even around the world. And I would get letters from other countries about how it helped people. People said, well, you need to put this in print. So a few years later, I checked into a hotel and in 3 days wrote a book. It was hard to do, but I did it. And that was that. We just published 5,000 copies of it and sold out and forgot about it. It's been out of print for years and years. In December, my friend Jensen Franklin called me, and he'd been going through a challenging time, and he'd found this book, and he and his wife read it. They read it twice, and it really helped them. And he called me just to thank me and share his appreciation for the book. And then he asked me, he said, "What'd you ever do with that?" I said, "Really nothing, printed up a few thousand copies and that's that." He said, "Well, would you mind if I make a few phone calls?" I said, "Yeah, do whatever you like." And all of a sudden, there were phone calls, and Steve Strang was talking to me, and we decided to republish this book. But I wanted to rewrite it, so I did. Over the holidays and while traveling in Europe, I was able to, I would say at least 75% of the book is brand new, rewritten, but it still maintains that story of how David found a way to recover all when everything went wrong in his life. And as we look at this story, we find a template that we can lay over our lives on what to do when it just seems like our whole world has fallen to pieces. And we can do what David did. Weep, but don't get bitter. Encourage yourself and get a word from God. Reorient your vision and regain your passion, attack, and recover all. Celebrate victory and give to others. Well, that's what David did, and I believe it's a timely book. I think it was possibly a book that was written out of time, out of due season. And now, in a time when a lot of people are facing a lot of crisis, home foreclosures and an economic meltdown and uncertainty in global politics, a lot of people are facing difficult times, and it just could be that this is a word in season on what to do on the worst day of your life.